Now that the test cases are generated, it's time to output them in the appropriate format. It could be either be format for manual execution, for example, HTML report, or for example, HTML report, or we could output them directly in the language of your choice to be run to be executed in your harness. So right now the tests are floating in this engine meta space, and we use renders or scripters, we call them scripters, to output them in the appropriate format. So right now I have attached an HTML scripter and a Perl scripter. So let me go ahead and output the tests. So the engine has done its generation. Now, okay, let's take a look. Great. Okay. So let me go ahead and output the tests. So I'm going to click another button here and output the generated tests. So each of these scripters will generate, one will generate an HTML report, another will actually generate Perl code. Let's take a look at HTML code first. The HTML report is going to contain the same information that you get inside the engine. So you can zip up this report and share it between the teams for test cases review. For example, if we click on test case 9, we're going to see the same message sequence diagram as we saw in the engine. Everything is, of course, clickable. You can click on individual values used. And you also get a traceability report. So now you can share this tests with other teams, and they have to have a knowledge of our product to understand what the tests cover and how they were generated. And now let's take a look at the code. So I got a double view in my editor here. On the left is the test suite. Let's take a look at the test suite first. The reason I generated Perl is that Selenium RC takes Perl as one of the driving languages, and it's fairly easy to use. Let's take a look at the code. This is the header. The header is everything is automatically generated here. The header tells you the information, how this test suite was generated, when, what test design configuration was used. Now let's take a look at the steps. First thing that we do is we start the test suite, and then we go on, we start the first test case. So test case 1, we say you're now expecting the home page, and we pass the parameters expected, SugarCRM and X and Y coordinates. And then we also have the user is supposed to click on accounts now. We say we're going to send a stimul to the system. We click on accounts link, and then we're expecting accounts page back. And this is the end of the first test case. So we're going to call end test case at the end. Now you may wonder, where did I get these functions? The start test case, the in click, out home page. Nothing that's defined in the standard Perl library, obviously. And we don't know how your harness interacts with the system under test either. So to actually link the generated test cases to the harness, we produce a mapping. And the mapping is on my right. We call it test harness here. And initially what we produce stubs, which are empty, and we ask you to insert the implementation. For example, end test case. We don't really know what kind of test harness you use and how your test harness performs a tear down after the test is executed. So what we ask you is to insert the call to your harness to perform the actual action. So in here you would insert something like my harness execute tear down, something like that, or my harness end test case. And in the same fashion, if we pass something parameters to you, for example, let's take a look at start test case. We pass the parameter test case name to the harness. So here you would say my harness start test case and pass the parameter that we passed to you. So here we are both the driver and the test oracle. We pass the parameters to the harness to be applied and an action to do, and then we tell the harness what to expect back. Well, since we don't really have a harness for Selenium here, I just inserted the code to drive the to drive the SugarCRM pages directly into the mapping. Let's take a look and, well, let's actually execute one of the test cases. So what I've got is, I got a Selenium RC server. Let me start it up. This is Selenium RC server running, and then let me go, and I got test case number 15. Let's just go ahead and execute it. So what it's going to do is now it will take the actions that we generated, the test steps, and it's gonna run them through the mapping, and the mapping calls Selenium RC, and Selenium RC executes the test steps. So on the top is the controlling browser, on the bottom is the browser that opens up SugarCRM, and you can see that it performs the actions, clicks on the links, fills in the fields, and so on, and we get a nice report both from the Selenium RC server about what it's doing and from our own test case. So this test case executes actions both through the web browser interface and is doing web service calls. So we're testing the independent operation of two interfaces where they work on the same backend. Now the test case has complete, everything passed, and we're done. So now we just watched how we create a model from scratch, generate the test cases, output them in the appropriate format, and execute them in the test harness. And that's it.